A 7-year-old boy clutched his basketball in the busy Toronto airport, his eyes wide with hope as he waited for his hero to arrive. What started as an innocent request for an autograph would become a moment of pure cruelty, until Allen Iverson witnessed something that made his blood boil and changed everything forever. Before we continue this story, let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to the channel, because tomorrow we have another incredible story for you. December 2006. Pearson International Airport in Toronto was a damn zoo. Snow hammered the windows, while inside, people shoved past each other like animals, dragging their overpriced luggage and clutching their overpriced coffee. The whole place reeked of desperation, expensive cologne, and that stale airport air that makes you feel trapped. Gate B12 was packed tight. Word had leaked that the Philadelphia 76ers were flying in, and every wannabe fan in Toronto had shown up. 7-year-old Shai Gilgeous-Alexander bounced like a pinball, his tiny hands death-gripping a basketball so worn the leather was practically white. His father, Vaughn, stood there sweating bullets despite the winter cold, checking his watch every 5 seconds like time was going to run out on his kid's dreams. Shai's hair stuck up in every direction, and his clothes were wrinkled from the 3-hour drive through hell just to get here. "Dad, what if he doesn't come? What if he doesn't want to sign it?" Shai's voice cracked, with that raw panic kids get when their whole world depends on one moment. Vaughn's stomach twisted watching his boy's face, that mix of pure hope and crushing fear that made you want to fight God himself. "He'll come, kiddo. AI's gonna come." Truth was, Vaughn Alexander was more nervous than his son. He'd maxed out his credit card for gas money, called in sick to work, and driven through a blizzard because his boy worshipped Allen Iverson like other kids worshipped Superman. Every highlight, every crossover, every time AI got knocked down and got back up. That was religion in their house. This wasn't just about an autograph. This was about giving his kids something to believe in. Marcus Webb adjusted his press badge and smirked at the chaos around him. At 34, he'd covered enough of these circus shows to know exactly what was coming. A bunch of delusional fans acting like they deserved something from millionaire athletes. His $500 coat and Italian shoes screamed, "I'm important," and his face had that permanent sneer that came from years of looking down on people. The father and son made Marcus's skin crawl immediately. Something about their desperate excitement, their obvious hope, pissed him off on a level he couldn't explain. These people thought they mattered. They thought some basketball player owed them something. Marcus had seen thousands of these pathetic wannabes over the years, and he was damn good at putting them in their place. When Allen Iverson finally walked out, the whole terminal seemed to stop breathing. AI moved like he owned every inch of space around him, cornrows perfect, diamonds catching every light, that swagger that said, "I know exactly who I am, and I don't give a damn what you think about it." He wasn't tall, but he filled that hallway like a giant. Shai went completely rigid, every muscle in his little body locking up with excitement. This was it. This was everything. His dad had driven through hell, they'd waited for hours, and now his hero was 20 feet away. But as they started moving forward, Marcus Webb stepped right into their path like a brick wall. "Hold up there, Junior," Marcus snarled, his voice dripping with fake concern. "This ain't some playground meet and greet. Mr. Iverson's got real business with real reporters, not some kid playing dress-up." He gestured toward his press crew like he was presenting evidence in court. Shai stared up at Marcus with those huge 7-year-old eyes, completely lost. I just wanted him to sign my ball," he whispered, his voice so small it barely made it past the airport noise. Vaughn stepped up, his jaw clenched so tight his teeth might crack. "Come on, man, he's 7 years old. We drove 3 hours for this." "Oh, you drove 3 hours." Marcus's laugh was like nails on glass. "Well, holy shit, stop the presses. You drove 3 hours. You know what I did? I built a career covering this sport while you were probably changing this kid's diapers. There's a hierarchy here, Dad. Learn it." The words hit Vaughn like a punch to the gut, but he forced himself to stay calm. For Shai. Shai's bottom lip started trembling, but the kid bit down on it hard, trying not to cry. His father had taught him that tears wouldn't fix anything, but damn if this wasn't breaking his heart. "I know basketball," Shai said, his voice shaking but determined. "I know AI scored 48 points in Game 1 against the Lakers. I know every one of his crossover moves." Marcus burst out laughing. Not the polite chuckle of an adult humoring a child, but the cruel, sharp laugh of someone who'd found fresh meat. "Oh, this is rich. A 7-year-old basketball expert. Hey, everybody," he called out to the growing crowd. "We got ourselves a pint-sized analyst here. Kid thinks he knows the game because mommy lets him stay up past bedtime to watch SportsCenter." People started turning to look. A businessman lowered his phone, frowning. A woman pulling her suitcase actually stopped walking to stare. An elderly man shook his head in disgust. But Marcus was just getting warmed up, feeding off the attention like a vampire. "You want to know what real basketball knowledge looks like, Junior?" Marcus leaned down, getting right in Shai's face. "It's understanding salary caps, trade deadlines, contract negotiations. It's not some little boy with a dirty ball thinking he deserves to breathe the same air as professional athletes." Shai's grip on his basketball turned his knuckles white, and Vaughn's hands balled into fists. That's when Allen Iverson heard the commotion. AI had been half listening to his agent drone on about endorsement deals when he caught the sound of a kid's voice mentioning his finals stats. Something about the way the boy spoke, earnest, pure, real, made him stop mid-conversation and pay attention. What he saw made his blood turn to ice. Some suit with a press badge was tearing apart a little kid who couldn't have been older than his own son. AI had spent his whole life being told he was too small, too street, too different. He'd been dismissed by coaches, scouts, and reporters who thought they knew better. But this was a grown man destroying a child's dreams for sport. And AI wasn't about to let that slide. Marcus was really hitting his stride now, gesturing wildly as more people gathered to watch the show. "This is exactly what's wrong with sports today," he announced to his growing audience. "Kids who think they understand the game because they've seen a few YouTube highlights? No respect for the professionals who actually work for a living, no understanding of boundaries or—" "What the hell is wrong with you?" The voice cut through Marcus's performance like a blade through paper. Every conversation in a 50-foot radius died instantly. Allen Iverson stood there, and he looked ready to commit murder. The casual swagger was gone, replaced by something dark and dangerous that made grown men step backward. Marcus spun around, his face going from smug confidence to pure panic in about half a second. "Oh, Mr. Iverson. I was maintaining order. Marcus Webb, Toronto Star. I've covered your entire career, sir. I was protecting you from inappropriate fan interactions." "Inappropriate?" AI's voice was quiet, which somehow made it 10 times scarier than if he'd been yelling. "A kid wanting an autograph is inappropriate." He took a step toward Marcus, and despite being roughly the same height, Iverson suddenly seemed to tower over the reporter. "Let me ask you something, Marcus Webb from the Toronto Star. You got children?" Marcus's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. "Well, no. But I understand professional boundaries." "Nah, see, you don't understand shit." AI cut him off, his street accent coming out thick and dangerous. "You standing here destroying a 7-year-old boy because it makes you feel big. That ain't journalism. That's just being a piece of trash with a press pass." The entire gate area had gone dead silent. Even the constant airport announcements seemed to fade away as everyone watched Allen Iverson methodically tear this reporter apart. Shai stared up at his hero with eyes so wide they looked like they might fall out of his head. His father felt his throat close up with emotion. "This little man right here," AI said, pointing at Shai without taking his death glare off Marcus, "knows more about basketball than half the clowns who cover me for a living. He drove 3 hours through snow just for a chance to meet me, and you decided to crush his soul because you could. Because you thought nobody would stop you. Marcus tried to stammer out an excuse, sweat literally dripping down his face now. Mr. Iverson, there's been a misunderstanding. I was just trying to maintain professional standards. Professional standards? AI's voice rose just enough to make everyone in earshot flinch. Your professional standard is humiliating children? That's what they teach at journalism school? People started pulling out phones. Someone whispered, "Holy shit, are you getting this?" A woman behind them muttered, "That reporter's a complete asshole." Marcus could feel the walls closing in, could feel his reputation crumbling in real time, but he was too deep in the hole to stop digging. AI turned his back on Marcus completely. The most savage dismissal possible, and knelt down in front of Shai. The transformation was instant and complete. The dangerous edge melted away, replaced by something gentle and real. "What's your name, little man?" "Shai," the boy whispered, voice thick with tears he was still fighting back. "Shai Gilgeous-Alexander." "That's a strong name, Shai. Real strong." AI's voice was so different now, warm and patient. "You know what? When I was your age, everybody told me I was too small, too different, said I'd never make it. You know what I told them?" Shai shook his head, hanging on every word like gospel. "I told them to watch me work. Size don't matter when you got heart, Shai, and I can see your heart from here. I can see it in how you didn't back down from this bully. That's champion blood right there." AI took the basketball from Shai's trembling hands, looking it over like it was made of gold. "This is a good ball. You been practicing?" "Every day," Shai managed, his voice getting stronger. "My dad put up a hoop. I practice your crossover." Behind them, Marcus stood completely frozen, watching his authority evaporate. The other passengers were openly glaring at him now. A teenager actually called him a loser under his breath. The businessman who'd been watching shook his head in disgust. "Show me that crossover right here," AI said, standing up and backing away to give Shai space. Right there in the middle of the busy airport, with hundreds of people watching, 7-year-old Shai Gilgeous-Alexander performed his version of the AI crossover. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. It showed hours of practice, real dedication. AI clapped, not the polite applause of an adult humoring a child, but the genuine appreciation of one player recognizing another. "That's what I'm talking about. You keep working on that, you hear me?" He pulled out a Sharpie and signed Shai's ball with a flourish, then wrote something extra, a message just for him. As he handed the ball back, AI stood up and addressed the crowd that had gathered. His voice carried clear across the gate area, making sure every person could hear him. "This young man right here got more love for basketball than most people I meet in this business. More respect for the game than some people who make a living off it." Marcus tried one desperate last move, stepping forward with his recorder. "Mr. Iverson, could I possibly get a quick interview about—" "Hell no!" AI cut him off without even looking at him. "I don't talk to people who hurt kids for fun. Find a new line of work, Marcus Webb. You ain't cut out for this one." The rejection was so complete, so public, that Marcus actually staggered backward like he'd been slapped. Someone in the crowd snickered. A woman loudly said, "Good for you, Allen." Marcus gathered his equipment with shaking hands and disappeared into the crowd as fast as he could, understanding that his little power trip had just become his professional nightmare. As AI started to leave with his team, he turned back one more time. "Shai, you remember this day, not because some coward tried to make you feel small, but because you didn't let him. You keep that heart, keep working, and when you make it to the NBA, and I said when, not if, you take care of the next little kid who just wants to believe in something." Years blurred by. Shai grew from that heartbroken 7-year-old into a high school phenom, then a college star, then an NBA lottery pick. Every step of the way, he carried that signed basketball and the memory of the day his hero proved that real strength wasn't about tearing people down, it was about building them up. By 2024, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had become everything AI predicted and more. All-star, superstar, the face of the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then came the night that brought everything full circle. The night he broke Allen Iverson's record for most points in a playoff game by a player under 26. After the game, in the press conference, Shai was asked about breaking his childhood hero's record. "AI saved my life," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Not just that day in the airport, but every day since. He taught me that it doesn't matter who tries to tear you down. What matters is who lifts you back up." As Shai continued talking, he noticed a familiar face in the back row of reporters. Older now, grayer, but unmistakable. Marcus Webb, still carrying the same Toronto Star credentials, still covering basketball after all these years. Their eyes met, and for a moment, time folded in on itself. "You know," Shai continued, looking directly at Marcus, "I learned something important when I was 7 years old. I learned that some people try to use their position to make others feel small, but I also learned that real champions don't let that stop them. They just work harder. They prove the haters wrong, and when they get the chance, they do better." Marcus Webb sat there taking notes, his hands shaking slightly as he wrote down the words of the man he'd once tried to humiliate. The 7-year-old boy with the worn basketball had become everything Allen Iverson said he could be. And Marcus had been there to witness both moments, the cruelty and the triumph, the destruction and the redemption. As reporters filed out, Marcus remained in his seat, staring at his notepad. In 18 years since that airport encounter, he'd written thousands of stories about games and stats and trades, but he'd never written about the most important story he'd ever witnessed. The day he learned that destroying a child's dreams says nothing about the child and everything about the person doing the destroying. The press conference ended, but the lesson lingered. Sometimes the 7-year-old kid you try to crush today becomes the superstar who defines tomorrow. Sometimes the heroes we need aren't wearing capes, they're wearing cornrows and carrying the wisdom that real strength comes from lifting others up, not tearing them down. And sometimes, if we're very, very lucky, we get a second chance to witness greatness, even if we tried to destroy it the first time around. This story isn't just about basketball or airports or autographs. It's about the moments that define us, the choices we make when we think nobody important is watching, and the truth that kindness and cruelty both echo forward through time, in ways we never imagine. Because in the end, the way we treat the smallest person in the room says everything about who we really are.